Are we going? All right, cool. Let's just jump right into it here. Okay, welcome back, everybody. The Champions Interview, three-peat complete. Daniel Jones, the pride of New Zealand. Congratulations, buddy.
Yeah, well, thank you. What an introduction. I don't know about the pride of New Zealand, but certainly the trail running community here is... I've had an overwhelming amount of support, so I really appreciate that.
Yeah. Somebody commented on our post about Ruth yesterday. Ruth for PM, for Prime Minister. So maybe you could be like the Vice Prime Minister. Is there something like that?
I try to stay out of politics, but I'd support Ruth all the way.
So we were talking in our post-race show before you walked in here that you told us in your interview, you're like, yeah, like maybe 750-ish. You know, I'm not sure how fast that first part's gonna run. 7:17 and change. Was that completely unexpected? Because I think that blew our brains.
Yeah, I guess I was like acting maybe a bit conservative because I set my nutrition plan around that. You never want to run out of nutrition, right? So that's probably part of it. And also talking to Kerry before the race, Kerry Suter, and he kind of said, I think it's going to be maybe in between the times that you've done previously on this course. So 7:27 and 7:40 something, 3 or 5.
Yeah.
So yeah, but no, it was fast. The pace was hot from the get-go, and yeah, just ran through. And wow, I was like saying to myself, even at Okataina, I was like, okay, make sure you're feeling okay at Okataina because you got the big climb out of there, and then you still got quite a few climbs, rounds, even from Tiki Tapu, and then through the Redwoods as well. It's pretty punishing, but yeah, held it together.
So you said also that you intentionally were sort of like on the gas all day. So talk about the dynamic in the men's race, because I think you had both Hiroki Kai and the Chinese athlete sort of on your hip more or less through halfway. Tell us about the dynamic and when you were able to break the elastic.
Yeah, and I know massive kudos to those guys and everyone else as well. Like as I said, the pace was hot from the start, and I wanted to push it. Like I think I did mention in our interview pre-race that I felt like my training was good, and I really wanted to test where I was at. Just being the first race of the season, and we went off fast. Like I was looking at my watch, I was like, 3:45, 3:50s. All through those gravel roads, through the from Kawerau through the forestry. I was like, it's a risk, but I guess if you really want to test yourself and see what you can do over the that 100K distance, you have to go hard from the start, because you're never really going to make that up later on in the more technical or the hillier parts of the course.
So is it confidence boosting to have this type of fitness in February? For us, we're like in the middle of winter. Obviously, it's like peak summer here in the Southern Hemisphere, but is it confidence boosting? I know we're like Western States is around the corner. Western States is not quite around the corner. We've got a couple months more prep to be done to the system, but is it confidence boosting to be sitting with this level of fitness right now?
It's definitely, confidence boosting, because I just look back to previous years and I thought I was fit then, but I think I have leveled up in terms of my fitness now. And it's like, okay, I realize that you can't go crazy now. You really got to respect the 100K distance. Now is all about, locking that race into the body, recovering well, and then building from there, I think. Because, if you go, get too hype, then you're like, I'll just go out and run another 20 or 30K tomorrow. No, I don't think that's going to work. I really got to have like a week downtime now, and then just reset and then just build from there again.
Unreal. So speaking of leveling up, we spoke in our pre-race interview about how 2023 was a solid year. 2024, spectacular year, at least by our characterization. 2025 now off to an amazing start. I'm already calling 2025 the year of Dan Jones, but maybe just speak a little bit about just the progression that you have had here. What sort of things have allowed you to sort of level up in the way that you just described? Just gaining experience?
Yeah, and that's pretty much what I was about to say. I think it's just that consistency of now being in the racing, getting that international level of experience for near on over 2 years now. Like this would be my third year, as you're saying, and it's like, the 2022 actually was the year, I think, of proper learning and having some pretty hard races where things didn't go completely to plan. And to be fair, the consistency from there, 2023 and 2024, just felt like I was building and laying the foundation to hopefully, really unlock that next level performance sometime soon.
So Dylan was telling me that he ran into you and your parents, seemingly maybe after like having some celebratory drinks at the end of yesterday. He said, Dan was still in his race kit. He was with his mom and dad. It seemed like they had just had some beers maybe. And apparently your dad was razzing you and was like, yeah, he's pretty fast in this flat stuff, but man, we got to work on that, getting him uphill. So just like tell us a little bit about kind of like, you obviously ran very, very fast in the flat stuff, but we do know that you can go uphill. Talk a little bit about maybe that razzing from your dad and kind of what that means for you when it comes to like having that support, but also know that they're going to kind of keep stickling you a little bit.
Yeah, and I think that's just our family mentality is, we don't want to get too far ahead of ourselves,
It's that tall poppy syndrome,
It's like, just a few jibes here and there, so I don't get a big head, which is great. But no, it's true. Like Tarawera is a fast course, and I think everyone's got these courses that really work the best for them, and being a local race, everything like that, it really works in my favor. But also I feel like I've been putting in good work over the years as well on my vert and trying to just do more and more of that stuff as well. But this was a race that I'm using the Christmas period, November through to January, as a time to work on my speed, and that's what we talked about as well. And I think it really paid off. My longest run in my training was only about 3.5 hours leading into this race. I didn't get carried away with doing super long runs. That'll come later, and that'll help build up that strength.
Wow. So one of the other things you mentioned when we were chit-chatting with your folks is that you think this is potentially your best race ever. Say a few words about that.
Yeah, I do. Everything went to plan. Like, I was on top of my nutrition the whole day, like the hydration side of things. And it still got hot out there. There probably can be time to be made up on like a cooler day, but everything really went to plan. And I alluded to it before, you can only really get the best out of yourself if you go in with a mindset that you're not afraid to fail almost. You're not afraid to go out as hard as you think possible. And there's always time to be made up. But I think yesterday was one of my best well-rounded performances.
Awesome.
Yeah, and talking to you and Hayden this week, it really seems like you both have found this kind of like together in a lot of training, but found this place where you're like, we don't need to reinvent the wheel. We don't need to like make huge changes. We're kind of just like turning dials, finessing what we've been doing a little bit. You're looking ahead to this next build. You got team camp coming up. You got Lake Sonoma coming up, we think, which would be super fun. And then obviously the build to Western States. What dials are you going to be finessing between now and the big dance?
Yeah, it's a great question, because we're probably, like Hayden and I, we concentrated on different races, but Robbie Britton, our coach, he's kind of set it up that, we'll race hard at this race, and then, as I said, we'll recover, and then we'll probably build up together for the next big one, which, we both have big ambitions to really put in really solid performances. So, Robbie's the man with the plan, and we'll just talk things over with him. Obviously, it's just about, as I said, recovering, chatting with him, seeing what we can improve on, and just go from there, really.
I have one more question as it relates to Western States, but before we get to it, a fun little story. Robbie Britton and I met here at Tarawera 2015, where they put us together as roommates, and we've been good mates ever since. In fact, we send each other funny things on the internet about professional darts, which he introduced me to when I was here in 2015. So shout out to Robbie Britton, the coach of both Hayden Hawks and our boy Daniel Jones here. My last question for you here. One thing Corinne and I have been talking about is like, you're clearly in phenomenal shape. Is it too early to be in this kind of shape? Like, how do you take this performance? Like, what are some of the, the pieces of, new understanding you have of yourself and your fitness, and how does that inform the next block to make sure you don't overdo it? Because it is still 4+ months till the A race of your season.
Yeah, you're right. And it's something I've been thinking about as well. When you put together like a performance like yesterday, it's like almost, now I've got to step up and like improve on that. And it can be like quite daunting in a way, because you're like, it hurt yesterday. But I suppose if you just like trust the processes of recovery and then actually just formulating the next plan that's gonna just lead to like that gradual progression of getting in like the longer runs, the runs that work in more vert, along with the speed that's going to be required for Western States as well. I think it's just that fitness that will come and just having that confidence. I never lacked confidence, but having just another step of confidence, I guess, is going to be pretty cool, and it will just probably help with my really believing that Western States performance can be replicated from something like Tarawera.
But is there any part of you that is like, I need to be a little bit cautious right now because I'm so fit and Western States is still a ways off? That's what I'm getting
He
at.
hasn't even done any of that long training though yet.
Yeah,
he said this is off of a speed block, which is super impressive.
And even like at the end of last year, you know, going to races that were like 35K, 30K distances, like I haven't done the long stuff since CCC and yesterday.
Yeah.
And so now it's like, okay, I think about it, but
You're still hungry.
Yeah, I'm a person that doesn't really believe in like a full off season. So if you look at all my past years of running anyway, I just have a recovery after the race and just
keep going.
Make sure that the body, I step back into training when the body and the mind feel ready and go from there. So I don't, touch wood, just, make sure that injuries, niggles, everything like that are kept at bay, and then I think I'll be really good to go.
I guess maybe last question from me, and then Dylan can sum things up. But you're gonna take a tiny break, tiny reset, tiny recovery the next like week or so. Anything special that you're gonna do during that time, as far as like doing anything fun?
He just came out of the spa.
Recover one day, he's good to go. He's gonna be back running tomorrow, I'm sure. But no, just like anything that you'll kind of like get to do a little bit more of in the next week or two before you kind of buckle back down again.
We're actually getting support from Rotorua Tourism. We're heading over to the Zorb today, so we'll have a good team outing there, and then the tree walk in the redwoods tonight, this evening on dark. So that'll be amazing, And so really thankful to them. But then I'm heading over to Whakatane to spend a week with my parents and Michelle, and Hayden Hawks and his family are going to be at the beach. So we're really wanting to get out for a dive, but the swell's like 2 meters, so I think it might be dying down towards the end of the week. My cousin just hit me up. I just hit up my cousin, and I'm like, reckon we could get out for a bit of a dive in the boat? Or it would be epic if we could get out, because just carry on our pre-race activities with some fun post-race activities would be great, and just good to spend time with mates and chill.
Well, Dan, we were just doing our post-race show here, and Kern and I are making it our personal objective to make sure that you are part of this like A-tier conversation leading into Western States, witnessing your performance yesterday. You know, it's easy to get lost in the mix of like Hayden and Jim and Peterman and
Rod. If you want us to keep calling you a dark horse, we can, but it seems disingenuous.
I'm just so impressed with you, dude. Congratulations on an amazing course record performance yesterday, rounding out the three-peat 3 years in a row. I hope you feel really proud. Thanks for coming into the studio.
Thank you, everyone. I just want to, again, just shout out for the massive community and the overwhelming Instagram messages and things like this. We'll get around to responding to people, and I just really appreciate it. Cheers, guys.
Cheers.